Michael Peloso is an upcoming artist you won't probably hear on the radio, but best believe his lyrics are heard worldwide via YouTube and other music streaming platforms. In fact, a song he wrote with singer and songwriter Natalie Jean called Letting Go was nominated for the 61st Grammy ballot. His lyrics connect with listeners in ways most wouldn't expect. His first solo album dropped in 2021 called Life's Little Accidents. It has amazing vocalists that do his lyrics justice. Sometimes the best sounds are found in the heart, the pop making your pulse jump and your brain rewinding to a pleasant time. And here with me today is artist Michael Peloso.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, how are you? How are you?
I'm
Thank you
good.
for having me.
Oh, no
Just one quick
problem.
correction because we have to say that the Letting Go was considered for Grammy, but it wasn't actually on
Oh,
the ballot itself.
okay.
But that's okay.
Okay.
Just to be technical, but it was up for consideration. So,
Hey, so
and
a win is a
it
win.
got
Yeah.
me to the show. So it was nice. So
Yeah. How was your Grammy experience? Let's just start off with that question.
Yeah, it was it was cool. Let's just put it that way. It was a really great experience to get there and see LA. I wasn't really in that was the first time I was ever in Los Angeles, and it's
Ooh.
its whole world. But to meet friends that catch up with folks. This was probably 3 years ago, I think it is now. God, time goes by, but it was a wonderful experience just to hang out and see everyone and. So a bunch, a bunch of people, and met one of my idols, John Prine, who passed away
Mm.
several years ago, actually at the bar, and he's mocking me for having water, telling me, the drinks were free, and it was just a surreal experience. But overall, yeah, it's one of those lifetime experiences that you just have to do if you have the opportunity. You just say you're doing it.
Were you expecting that when you made the song that it could ever even possibly be considered for the 61st Grammy Awards?
I never go into thinking anything along those lines. Though anything that happens is out of my control or anyone's control for the most part. You just try to create the best music possible and you put it out there, and what else happens after that is really, like I said, out of your control. Folks may like it, some folks may not. It's art, right? It's all subjective, and creating, you know criticizing, I always say, is easy. Creating is difficult, right?
That's
So it's
true. So true.
but like I said, and honestly, more than awards, I don't even think along those lines at all. It's me. It's more someone likes the songs and it touches them and they stays with them. To me, that for 3 minutes a day, if it takes someone away for that period of time and takes away their problems, then I've done my job as the
Mm.
creator. So.
That's amazing. So, based off that, what made you first get into writing music? Like any family influence for our listeners out there? Michael grew up in Newark, New Jersey. So, there are many different sounds that came from Jersey. Did any of those growing up inspire your own?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I live. Newark is, if you know, it's a major city in northern New Jersey, and now I currently live about 20 minutes outside New York City. So I had all those influences growing up, and from songwriters and just music in general. From New York City, AM radio at the time was big, and they used to. 77 was WABC, but they used to play everything from Hall and Oates to Stevie Nicks to Fleetwood Mac to the Spinners
Mm.
to Earth, Wind and Fire. It wasn't stuck. This is what you had, and it's similar almost actually to college radio and triple A radio. Which I love about college radio is and the enthusiasm, especially college students and yourself in general. You play you feel is a good song. You don't care that what it fits into or doesn't fit into, and that was at the time. So I had so many influences from Bruce Springsteen from Jersey, just on his songwriting. And I've told this story, on many other interviews, but I remember being 8 years old, and REO Speedwagon's "Keep on Loving You" came on the radio, and I begged my father take me to the store. I had my money, and I said, and I remember it brings me back, God, 42 years ago, and I'm dating myself, but buying this record and playing it till it turned to dust. And then my influences changed. I became more on the songwriting level. From Tom Waits. I discovered Tom Waits, and then the Beatles, and Stevie Nicks and Carole King, and Earth, Wind and Fire and Stevie Wonder, and just these writing, and Elton John and Bernie Taupin and James Taylor, and it was about the song to me. Everything from the lyrics to the melody, it just caught on. And my dad secretly sings. He'll pop
Secretly.
out occasionally at a wedding, a family wedding or an event, and and they'll ask him to sing. And I think I believe I got my love of music from my dad, and he never pursued it, and just how life goes. And but he loves it, and you'll catch him singing, and every now and then I have him in the car and he'll be tapping his finger. He's elderly now, but and that's where I got it. And I said all these influences came together, and to me, like I said, a good song is a good song. I don't care what genre it is.
Yeah, that's amazing because I noticed like you mainly like a pop music vibe, and you're talking about how the lyrics, you said that's like the main thing that matters to you, and like you said, the beat, as long as it makes somebody feel something. So I would have a question as a lyric writer and song producer, basically yourself. What do you create first? Like, do you look for the beat, or do you write lyrics down that try to fit with the beat?
Yeah, there's the first rule about songwriting is there are no rules.
Yeah, okay.
You
Okay.
you go with what you feel. It'll depend. I mean, there are times where I hear a melody. For the first album, a lot of it became lyrics first. The second album, because lyrics between the two lyrics I've always worked on my melody writing, and I've definitely had to work a lot harder than say my lyric writing, because once my lyrics come to me, usually that first line, I am in a zone and they usually just come out. And like I said, my melody writing, it all depends. There's sometimes, because I'm not a vocalist,
Hmm.
so if I write a song, I'll have something there with the beats or a number of syllables, and then I might hear someone sing it, and then I say it doesn't fit, so I need to rewrite something. And to me, like I said, it doesn't matter sometimes. And now for this new album, it seemed to be that the words became harder this time.
Oh.
And yeah, right. So, because sometimes it's harder to find something to say. And I remember Carlos Santana says it basically between melody and lyrics is, you're at a bar, and like I'll speak for me, but you see a beautiful woman and she's the melody. You see her physical.
Aw.
But when you start talking to her, the lyrics come in. So they keep you, whether, she could be talking about nothing and you're just like, okay, forget it. There's nothing there. But the melody captures you at the beginning. And then, so they do have to play hand in hand with each other. But like I said, there's really no rules to songwriting. It's just, and even lyric writing too. I mean, I write lyrics all the time, and sometimes I look back and I say, what was I thinking? And you just you don't have to hold on to them. You just they're thoughts, and you keep
Mm.
them. And and that's, I'm sorry, the other rule of writing is never throw anything away,
I never tried
because you
anything.
never know, one day it might work for somebody else. So,
All right, listeners, keep that in mind. Never trash your thoughts. It might not be working in this song, it might work with the next song. And
exactly.
reduce, reuse, recycle, because
Yes.
genius comes in bursts. Genius comes in bursts. And for you, your first solo album, Life's Little Accidents, I mean, I listened to it. I truly enjoyed it. Like, I felt like I was on a journey. There was love, loss, friendship, and relationships. And then you kind of delved into like the mysteries of life. Did you purposely plan any of these songs to touch on these experiences, or did something happen in your life or a friend's life that really inspired you to say, hey, I want to start writing these songs, and that basically expanded the album's topic?
Yeah, that's exactly how it came. I mean, I couldn't have written these songs 20 years ago.
Mm.
I just didn't experience what I went through the last probably 14 years of my life. I mean, fortunately, I was divorced,
Mm.
which wasn't great. But during that time, I also developed stage 4 colon cancer when I was 45, about 5 years ago. That
Mm.
was life threatening. I was near death. And so a lot of these songs and I survived, and I'm doing well, knock on wood here. But when you go through these certain experiences, ups and downs, you come out from it, you come out from it differently, you come out thinking differently, and as you should. Every you should you can't think the same as you did when you were, I mean, you're a lot younger than me, but when you get to my age, you will have different thoughts because you have those life experiences. So yeah, they definitely did. Rear View and Shed My Skin touched on the cancer portion of it, where I was leaving that part behind me in Rear View, the cancer. I just didn't want it. And Shed My Skin was about that as well. And that was the first song I wrote for the album. That's what started this. It was those lyrics first, and it was just to say, you know what, I'm tired of being sick. I'm tired of the negativity going on, even for myself. I just didn't want that anymore, and I was just shedding myself from that. And and they progressively went on, and all through that, everything has a story. And even when you experienced what I experienced on my deathbed, you that's what Life Little Accidents, the title, is about. And it's just
Oh,
this mystery
interesting.
of grandiose of what's going on in this world, that we're a lot larger. There's a lot of things we don't understand, and like I said, maybe we're just not meant to understand. And I think I wrote that in a previous song, but that line, but it's true. And so this, and I resisted doing an album of my own. I always like being behind the scenes, and it's just okay. I write, and someone else takes it and does what they want with it, another artist. Then Natalie, who I worked together with, kept saying to me all the time, "You need to do your own album. You need to do your own album. People need to know who you are." And then COVID hit, and I just said, you know what? I'm going to start writing these songs, see what comes out of it. Spoke to Matt, and we put these things together, and I we picked out the vocalists that would fit for the songs, and we felt, some of them were friends, and a couple I did not meet before. And we just went from there in the song. It took about a year for the album, 6, 7 months, and just to get everything written and say, okay, these are the 10 that I want. And we basically told the story from start to finish, and you go from there. And that's how it came about, and you put it out there, and I'm glad people responded to it. So
Yeah, like honestly, like when I was watching it, I did see the music video for a review, but I also saw the music video for the song "Make a Wish," and honestly, that's probably my favorite one. I guess because it's really sappy and adorable. It highlights love, personal relationships, friendships by showing couples, family, and friends just living day to day life and taking in moments with each other. And so you said that you want people to feel stuff from your music. For like this song or any song in particular, you talk about shedding your skin was your song, basically saying, I'm letting go. I don't want this negativity to hold me down. So, how do you want your lyrics in your songs to reflect in people, either from like hearing it or just when you try to make a music video out of it? Are you going for like different themes in each context, or is it just completely open for interpretation?
the beauty about music is, for the most part, I do not say what my songs are about. And because the beauty of music is it's individual to the listener, and the listener can make it their own. And it just happens to be that I want that to be your experience. I don't want my influence of what it was to influence you, because it may mean, you could play it for a million people, and a million people will come back and have a different interpretation
So
and what it
true.
means to them, and that's the beauty of it. So for me, I write it at that moment, what it may mean to me, but yes, it may mean something, relate differently to something going on in your life. And that's where so I normally do not say what my songs are about.
I like that. I like that because you're like you said, let people think freely for themselves, and also like you said, people might feel something else because that's what I think is the beauty of music. Because one person can write one thing, and yet that's their truth in that moment, and then somebody else may take another truth from their same lyrics. And the best thing is, like you said, even though there's like a generational huge gap between us, but I can listen to your music and be like, hey, that kind of makes sense, but in my own context for it, in comparison to your context for it. So I think that's great, and because one's life can often be reflected in somebody's words or somebody's lyrics. And so your song "Know You, Know Me" is a song that well, what I think, like the instrumental arrangement in that song. 'Cause there's like jazz and pop elements, and I feel like it's supposed to take the listener on like a journey. So, was this music arrangement done on purpose because you wanted to be like a more hopeful, upbeat song? And what are some different sounds that you messed around and experimented with before you ended up settling on this certain type of beat?
Well, as far as your first part to that question, yeah, I do want, you know, there's some dark moments in that song. I mean,
Mm.
No You Know Me has some dark moments, and so does Fly Away. And when you look at it, but what I've been told, and I try to do too, is there is hope, and there's hope for anything to come out of. You come out of the experience, and Know You Know Me was part of that, where it's okay. You went through some ups and downs here, and but you come out of it. And you look back after, and you're like, oh, I did. How did I do that? At that moment, you don't realize it, and it's normal. You might not see, 2 feet in front of you, and then after you look back, and you're, wow, I'm still here. But as far as sound that goes, yeah, you try to go for a certain sound. I like to do a lot of things. Usually, what happens is we fool around with sounds and we say, okay, it works. It doesn't work. Okay, yeah, we'll put that another there, and then you have that aha moment where it's just, okay, this is where we're going with this. It feels this way, and like I said, there are times when I've written things and it's, I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You even question yourself, right? And you're like, okay, but and listen, that's part of the process, and you whittle through. But you do want someone to feel an emotion one way or the other, just like you Make a Wish, which I wanted was, it was a simple, boy meets girl, boy's trying to get girl, girl's been hurt, doesn't want anything to do with him, and she doesn't believe him, and it's just a feel good song, and that's what I wanted, for that one particularly. It's a straightforward pop song, and and Viku did a wonderful job vocalizing it, and and coming out with those emotions, and it just, like I said, and that's what I want. I want someone to get there, because it follows Maybe Someday, which is the second track, which is the longest track, which is a very hard song. I mean, I went to a couple of vocalists who just couldn't sing emotionally.
Mm.
And for me, it was an emotional song to write, but it still had some hope in it. And, that maybe someday we'll find our way. And so after that one, I was saying, we got to put an upbeat here, because people are gonna just be like, what are you doing here? And but like I said, there's always hope in things, and you want to draw those emotions and hope that they somewhat match, and that's what I do. There's a lot of times you do purposely try to do that.
Yeah, because like, another thing I really noticed about going through your album is like the name of some of the songs, like Falling Up. I think it's very eye catching because it's like physically impossible to fall up. And like, I know it's a metaphor, but my favorite part of the song, I guess, would be the hook, because it's like falling up will lead to a whole new world. So when you were writing Falling Up, you talked about your own experiences battling cancer and stuff like that. But how did was that something you reflected on when making this song, as if you're gonna do better after you defeat something, but like at the end of the day you still went through it and had to deal with the consequences of it? Or like, how do you feel, like what made you call it Falling Up? Because I just
Well,
find it is so.
you're close to that theory. It was actually during the time when I was recovering and going through things, and I read a book by Richard Rohr called Falling Upwards, which basically is the fact that you can't go through better from certain things, and you've learned from those experiences, even though they were hard at the time, that somehow you actually moved forward as a person, and you couldn't have unless you went through that. And there's somewhat in there, that little hint that's going to be some of the titles of my next album. There's some theme there. I'll let you know once again. I can't reveal it yet. But
Aww.
so basically, Falling Upward was that I went through that cancer, and it did, because there were a lot of things that went on in my life, and things that were out of control, but a couple things I could have handled better. I mean, I admit that. And you look back and you're saying these things, but had I not gone through it, I wouldn't have been that better person. And I've said a lot of ways that, in a way, cancer saved my life
Mm.
because it made me a stronger person. I do get emotional when I talk about it, and it's I've become a stronger person. I've become, I believe, a better person. And prior to being sick, I was a good person. Not saying I wasn't, but when you go through these things, you you come out of it better, and you're actually better for it. And that's basically what that song is about. Is actually I fell upward.
Hmm.
I fell, but I was actually moving in some other way. I was moving upwards to be a better person. And that's what I've always strived for in my life. I mean, I'm not saying, no one's an angel, but, the sickness, when someone's sick and very sick, you're like, wow, you do a lot of thinking when you're in the hospital,
Hmm.
especially alone times, which was a good thing because in a way, because it allowed me to just reassess things that I probably wouldn't have done if I didn't get sick. And so I did. I fell upwards, and I clearly borrowed from his book, the title, but shortened it. But that's where the main influences came from.
Yeah, see, that's amazing because when I was listening to Falling Upward, I'm thinking about graduation, how the struggle you're going through classes as an everyday college student. You just got to pass this one class and just keep moving onwards. Whether you pass with a C, that's all that
Right.
matters. That's what I think of when falling upward. You're falling upwards. It's really deep. And I'm just like, again, the power of music and how it works.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
But now I have to ask because you piqued my curiosity. What
Sure.
is your favorite song on your album and
Okay.
why?
And this is I saw that question you had gave to me, and okay, I have two daughters, and I basically songs are like your children. You can't
Mm.
pick a favorite. It's because they all mean something to me in that moment and something special. I have two daughters, and you have one who always says you love the other one more than this one, and meanwhile they're different, completely different personalities, and you have to treat them differently. And you just say, okay, but no, you'll realize when you have children one day that But I mean, they all have a special meaning to me. I mean, if I mean, I don't listen to my songs after they're out. They're for
Ooh.
everybody else. Once they're gone, they're gone. I mean, because you spend so long writing them and creating them that you hear them so many times, and to me, once I let go of it, and that's for the audience. But I have. I mean, do I say? I mean, Rear View is one of my favorites. Life's Little Accidents, Falling Up. Uh, Make a Wish, for that happy moment, and even Fly Away at the end of the album. I mean, I would say are probably my favorites of them, and maybe Someday too. But I mean, I can't pick one because, like I said, it was like I have 10 children. I love them all.
Oh my, you're the first artist I've ever interviewed who said they don't go back and listen to their music after it's like completed and done. Like, I mean, I find it like astounding. So I was just kind of like, you really don't do that, but at the same time, like I understand because you're just like I like this is something I created, but it's no longer for me. Like you said, it's for everybody else to enjoy now. And when I look at
Yes,
it from that way, I'm like, that does make sense. That does make sense because
right.
like
I'm proud of what it. Don't get me wrong. I'm proud of the work. I'm proud of everybody who put into it. We all worked very hard at it emotionally to just creating it. It's just like I said. Once it's there. It's for everyone else now, and that's the beauty of it. And that's what I do. So
so it's like it's just a little quirky, funny question. So if you hear your daughter just playing it in their car, you're just like turn it down. They just want to play your.
now that no, I'd be like, hey, that's your father, right? Or something like that. That's me. And I don't say anything, and it's just and then it pops up and it'll say my name. I'm like, yeah, there you go. But it's yeah, like I said, like her people are just like, oh, that's you. I have relatives who are like, you wrote that? I'm like, yes, I did. When? How? What do you think I do all day? But it's just I don't say anything. I'm just like we let it go from there, and that's what it is. So.
That's so humble. That is so humble. But I'm gonna have to make you a little unhumble now because I gotta talk about your single "Rewind" that dropped January 10th. So this song, such like it's giving me pop country, and honestly, I love. That's one of my favorite combinations. Remind me of Taylor Swift, Carrie Underwood. So I'm already just gonna be a fan. And in my opinion, it's the perfect song you want to hear when you want to be like lost in your thoughts. So, when you wrote this song, like what like I guess I want to ask what were you doing? Like were you sitting down at the kitchen table? Were you just going through a card, just thinking about lyrics in your brain? Like what made these lyrics come to you? Like what was the setting that you were in?
Okay, so I mean, I tied a lot of this together. I had this going on where I have a friend of mine who moved away. We grew up, we lived. Yeah, I haven't seen him in God knows how long, but he calls me from time to time, and it constantly talks about the old neighborhood, and at first I was, I don't live there anymore. I haven't lived there in 30 years, and even in my mind, I'm just not there as a person anymore. And then I opened up to think, maybe him talking about those times or other people talk about the past a lot brings them comfort today
Hmm.
because what they're dealing with today. So I became more open minded about that. And then I'm home and the school shooting in Texas happened.
Hmm.
And I just longed, and a lot of things go on. I just said, you know what? Yeah, people long for a time in their life that was innocent, that was peaceful, that they had no worry. And listen, you may look back on things in life and you think they're better than what they actually were in reality, but it brings you some sort of comfort today. And I went through a lot of questions like why are these things going on in life? Why are they happening? They should. There's things I have always said. The day I go and meet my maker, him and I are going to have a nice little chat about why certain things happen in this universe and why should they and why shouldn't they. And it just brought back that, like, I just wanted to bring folks a little comfort back to that time. And then, but bring them back to today too, that knowing that today those memories can help you and take you through today as well. And gave it to Marissa, and she's basically going to be singing every song on the album because this album we want more consistency. And she's just great. Within a couple of days, she just had it. And I struggled with what I was going to write, and then it was rewind, and then take me back in time, and then it just all just came together very easily. Like I said, when my writing once I usually get the first couple lines, especially lyrically, it comes, and that's exactly what happened that day. I made a point that day to write that song that day. I made a conscious effort that I wasn't going to sleep until I wrote it because I wanted to, and I'm glad that it's actually catching on already. I mean, it's only been out a day, but that people are resonating with it, and I hope it gives them hope and gives them a sense of, hey, you know what, I'm gonna forget about. It's gonna take me back to a time in my
Hmm.
life where things were really good, and you don't realize them until you're gone out of those days. That those days were good, but it brings them some hope and gives them 3 minutes, 3 minutes and 50 seconds of, hey, peace for a time being. So that's where I actually came from with that song.
Interesting. I feel like this kind of went into the ambient sounds that are in the background of Rewind because that's one thing I really loved about that song. Like I had to keep literally rewinding it because I just love the ahs that basically
That's all
just
her.
pop up. That's
That's all Marissa. You got to give credit where credit is due on that. That was all her, and just naturally came. And that's what happens sometimes. Vocalists will
wow.
just connect with everything, and she does. No slight to any other artist because we've worked it because everything means a moment. But she has a very good, especially with these new songs, has a like a really alchemy to these songs and these words, and they've just come along. And she, like I said, that was all her on that. That just she was in that moment, and we were just like, yeah, it works. And when it works, it works, and it does. And like I said, her voice is just outstanding. And just she has that innocent slash, almost what would the term? Almost haunting, like hauntingly innocent is what I've always said about her vocals. And it like I said, it just captured them. I hope folks more respond to it and enjoy it. And that's basically what, and it makes them feel good in some sort of way.
Yeah,
So
it's beautiful, just beautiful.
thank you.
We're gonna play this song after the interview, honestly,
Awesome.
so our
Thank you.
listeners can hear it on air. But so now that you're hinting that Marissa, you said she's gonna be the main vocalist on your next album. So do you mind sharing anything else that might be about it? Like, will it have songs similar to Rewind, or will each song be like how its own little story to it?
Yeah, well, they all have their own little story to it. It has more of a I wanted more of a consistent sounding album, so that's why we chose Marissa and we went this way. And I mean, we're 5 tracks into it. I mean, we
Oh,
have a
okay.
beautiful ballad, ballad slash. It's called "That Will Be Me." That came very quickly, and something called, I'll give you some titles: "Road Trip into Heaven," which is just a fun acoustic Southern California sounding feel from the 70s where you just want to get in your car and just go. And Street of Gold is the only song I've co-wrote on this album. It's with my buddy Sal, which was an older song, and it's a little harder edge, not harder edge, but harder acoustic rock sound, like almost dirty sounding, but it's has a lot of metaphors in it. It's a
Mm.
very metaphorical, and there's Better Days Ahead, which is another one that's basically the opposite of Rewind. It's like Rewind's like ulterior cousin, which is basically that there are better days ahead. So when we place them, we might actually put Rewind and then Better Days right after it. Um, it's almost like its sister, of Rewind, and we have some other, we tie on a little alternative, similar to like Flyaway was at the end, with another track we're calling Ella's Pink Balloon, and which is very metaphorical as well. And I think I got something called Angels Are Listening right now is the working title that I changed. We I had written something called The Angels Aren't Listening, which was kind of in the past, and I said, nah, it's a little too, and I want to make this positive, and
Mm.
that's so. I mean, the album's gonna have about 8 songs on it. We're going with 8, and 8 seems to be a number that resounding in my life. I always say, because I was born on April 4th, so it's 4/4. Both my daughters and my sister were born on the 8th,
Oh
so
yeah,
something with 8,
eight.
So that's clearly about me. But it's but like I said, so no, I like how it's coming along. It has some of the older elements and some new tweaks to it too as well. You just, because you want to grow as an artist,
Mm.
and that's definitely what we're doing. So
I can't wait for it, honestly. Just a little hints. And I like Ella's Red Balloon, or Pink Balloon, or Red
Pink
Balloon?
Balloon,
Pink Balloon.
Pink
Okay,
Balloon.
I like that title. Ella's Pink Balloon. I'd probably gonna be the first song I listen to. I'm probably not gonna listen to it in order. I have a bad habit of skipping stuff on an album. And I know it's bad because you're just like, sometimes we rearrange the order and I'm just like, it's supposed to tell a story. I know this, but in my brain, I'm just like, which song title seems more interesting while I'm scrolling down Spotify?
We'll see, because now the new days, see, my growing up albums were really telling a story, but now everyone shuffles,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to, like, I hear the story was, you hear the song Africa by Toto, and which is, but you listen to, like, for instance, an interview with Steve Lukather as a guitar player. He says, we thought nothing of that song, and we put it at number 12 on the album. We put it as the last song on the record, because when they came in with it, we were like, what is this? And when we heard it, we were, at the time, they were like, what is this? And that's what happens. The one you least expect usually is. And so nowadays, it's all changed, where, with a record, we used to have to pick it up and go, or the tape, when we had cassettes, we'd have to fast forward. CDs became easier because it was just a button press. You're like, oh, I didn't like it, I'll change it. But now it's, streaming. You either, like you said, you look at the title, you're like, oh, this looks good, or you just shuffle, and it completely plays. So the whole order of the album's out the window. So it doesn't even matter at that point. So
Yes, but okay. One other question that I have for you is, you were offering a lot of advice already for our listeners who write their own music or trying to start writing their own music. You told them, I remember, number one is that there are no rules. Number two is that never scrap your ideas. But number three, I have a question. So what would you, like you said, it took you about 6 months to put together your first solo album. how did you do like before you were putting together like solo album? Like you were a collaborate artist that helped other people like produce their own music, or like can you like explain, I guess, the process of like you said told us what pushed you to basically create your own solo album. So what advice would you give to our listeners who feel like maybe like how you did, we're just like, I'm not really ready to step up yet and like unleash my own music. Like I write stuff down and I keep stuff, but I don't know if I'm ready to just like release it and let it be free. Like, what advice would you give them?
Well, I don't know if you're always ever ready
Mm.
when you actually really think about it. I mean, there comes a point you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your ideas, and you also, but in that same sense, you also have to be open to other people's ideas. Because, like I said, as a writer or a collaborator, if I give, like working with Natalie, I've written lines and I've written songs for her, and she sings them after, especially as a lyricist. The vocalist comes in. If the vocalist can't sing it for whatever reason or it doesn't come out, you don't have to hold on to that line forever. You may
Mm.
have to say, well, yeah, it doesn't really fit. I don't like it. And then I'll go from there. Like there's some folks who are like, no, it has to be this and it has to be this. At some point their lines are lines, and they are. And you just, younger, I used to be like, no, it has to be this. And you know, and, but I say, you just keep going at it. The door's closed. You keep knocking, and if they don't open it, then knock it down.
Mm.
Just break the door down and just say, I'm here and I have something to say. And you have to believe in your material
Mm.
first and foremost, because then no one else will. And just be authentic, whether it's writing from the heart. Just be yourself and show that authenticity. Because if you're not, then it does come across as, it comes across as stale, or comes across as maybe this isn't really, he's not really believes in what he's portraying here, he or she. And for me, like I said, you just keep going at it. I mean, it's a long haul, and you do this. There's going to be rejection.
Mm.
You just have to take that rejection and turn it into something, whether it's strength, whether it's I'm going to try harder, and their opinions. Right at the end of the day, someone's opinion. You are not going to please everybody. Your music's not going to touch everybody. But you, like I said, you've touched one person, and someone comes to you and says, you know what, I had a bad day and I popped it in and it helped me. You actually, as an artist, succeeded
Mm.
in the grand scheme of things. And that's the most important thing. I mean, everyone looks at the fame and fortune, and if you have that, and then that does, listen, there's the 1% too, even in the music industry, what you see, and not everything is as it seems as well. I mean, there's a lot of, it's like an iceberg. I've seen this meme all over social media, but it's true. Everybody sees the tip of the iceberg, but no one sees underneath the
Mm.
rejection, the struggle, the, family who doesn't take you seriously, friends who don't take you seriously, to, it's not a good song, your own self-doubt. But all everybody sees is, oh, he was an overnight success. No, that was like 10, 20 years of putting this in, and then suddenly something hit for whatever reason, right? And but like I said, you just never give up and always believe in yourself. And this goes for anything in life. And it's to be patient with life, because things happen in their time. They may not happen for whatever reason, we don't see it. They may do happen. And you just have to be patient and keep going. And like I said, always believe in yourself. And like I said, that's what you should do, is my opinion.
I think that's amazing, spectacular advice. Like if
Sure.
just be patient. Like that's really deep. Like just wait and see what happens. Like you said, it might not happen overnight success. Yeah, I think that's the problem with my generation in particular. We kind of like give up if it doesn't like happen like immediately like that. But really, like you said, laying it out in a timeline to say like just keep going, keep trying at it. Even if people do doubt you, as long as you have your own self motivation, you know that this is something you really, really want to accomplish. Then, like you
And that's
said.
anything in life. That's any occupation you want to do. I mean, the arts are different, but there's rejection in any sort of job. You don't get into the college you want. You
Mm.
don't. The person you want to date doesn't. Or the job was rejected, or a whole bunch of things. It's not just music, and you just have to be patient. And yes, you know what? Patience is not on the youth. We've all been through it. When we were younger, we wanted, we always wanted the fast car. We wanted, this to why didn't it happen today? Like, oh, I'm here. Why didn't you give in to me? No, you learn this as you get older, and it's just life lessons. And they, like I said, you just be patient and just persevere, and you'll make it, whatever it is you're going to do. And your success, if you feel that you're successful, that's all that matters.
Mm.
You can't weigh the, well, I have the big house or I have the fancy car. A lot of it's nonsense anyway. It's what you feel inside. If you felt, I accomplished something, whatever it is, you're a success. You wake up every day, it's a success.
One thing I have to admit that I can't be patient for is how to get to know you. Where can our listeners follow you at on social media? Where are any of the places that you release your music, or if you could just give us a website for them to just type into your phones real quick?
Yeah, I'm at MikePelossoMusic.com is my website, but you could just Google me. You Google Michael Peloso, and it says musical artist. I mean, I'm on every streaming service. I'm on Facebook at Mike Peloso Music. Like I said, you just look me up, and you'll find me. You'll find my page, and you'll find me on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter because I can't figure it out, and I don't have enough time anyway. Yeah, I'm old, but I am on Instagram. I am on Facebook. I am, like I said, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon, YouTube. Just look me up on YouTube. But if you go to my website, it does have the links on top that will lead you. I think it doesn't have Instagram. It might have Instagram, or I'm not sure because it's a private account because I was actually hacked.
Oh
So, because Instagram makes you with Facebook, and
no. Mm-hmm.
somebody hacked my Facebook but got through my
Oh.
Instagram. So now I'm like, it's private. I mean, I'll normally accept you if you're to share my music. I can tell who's a fake account and who's not, but that's where I'm at. I mean, I'm all over, but you Google me, you'll find me.
Okay, well, listeners, you guys know what to do. You know how to get to him. And thank you so much, Michael, for your time. I have enjoyed it. Also, listeners, if you would like to listen to Michael's new song, Rewind, it is streaming on all platforms.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. Like I said, I love college radio and I love talking to the music lovers. Go Wolves.
Yeah, go West, go Wolves. Thank
Yes,
you.
absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.